From Carolla One Studios in Glendale, California, and celebrating 14 years of podcasting, this is the Adam Carolla Show. Adam's guest today, Jason Alexander. Plus, Jody Miller returns, and we'll do some news stories with Chris Loxamana. And now, celebrating 14 years of podcasting, and therefore 14 years of unrinsed coffee mugs. Adam Carolla.
Yeah, get it on. Got to get on. That show's been on a mandate. Get it on. Thanks for tuning in for 14 years.
Woo!
Jody Miller's in the studio. Chris Max-Pat is here.
Happy anniversary.
Jason Alexander's going to join us in the second half, so we can enjoy that as well. I don't think he's ever been on this show in 14 years.
Wow.
Yeah, we've had everybody and some of them twice, but Jason not been on. So I'll be excited to talk to him about what he's up to. Nominated 7 consecutive years for Emmys, by the way. Never won one.
Yeah, well then, don't bring that up.
Michael Richards got them all.
Co-star got them all, yeah.
Yeah, that's something to get into. Jody.
Sure.
Oh, I got a clip. Jody as well, just fresh off her triumphant stand-up performance.
It was, but you can't. Adam and I were just talking about like the expiration of compliments when it's too late to give a compliment.
Yeah.
So I was going to compliment you on your 14 years, but
well, that's happening today.
Well,
that didn't expire. That just happened.
For me.
Whereas you, the stand-up was like 11 days ago, so I can't really
I feel like that's
you
okay,
on it.
actually. 11 days. But if you just saw it, let's just say you saw it last night, to you it would be like less than a day.
Yeah, but what if I saw, let's see, the original Poseidon Adventure?
Yeah.
Should I reanimate all the stars that were in it who have passed now just to compliment them? Because this is the same thing we're talking about here.
They're all dead, so you'd have to do all of them, and that's a very long movie.
Yes.
I think it's okay to compliment Jody, because if you saw Patrick Mahomes in like 7 months, you would still congratulate.
Well, that was a real thing. I mean, he won the Super Bowl. She did 4 minutes of clean material in front of a partisan crowd.
You know what? For a comic, that's hard. 4 minutes of network clean.
Oh, yeah. And in prime time.
In prime time. So not even like late night, which is totally different. I don't think people realize there are certain words that you cannot even say that I did not say.
How much of you, and you just found out that day,
That day,
right?
I found out that day.
You thought you were going to be writing on it.
Yeah, I was just going to help out, write, and then enjoy some Boys to Men. I was telling Chris that I completely fanned out on them. If I could have taken off my underwear while speaking to them, just to hand it to them, I would have. But my pants were way too tight.
She's pulling down her pants just retelling the story.
I'm actually, you guys missed it. I was like, let me just get these off.
So when you're going through your act trying to get 4 minutes of clean going, I imagine, because you really don't know how dirty a lot of your act is until you really start combing through it, and then you realize,
And for me, I think people have a misconception of my comedy. This was kind of the backlash of doing something like AGT when I did do it, is that everybody thought when they booked me afterwards to headline that I was going to do an hour of just cat and dog material. It was like, and then I started talking about fucking younger guys, you know, and not using a condom so I could have a baby, and my dad would be like, they were just like horrified about all of this stuff. They were like, where's the cat and dog stuff? This whore is on stage talking about shit.
Yeah. How'd you do on AGT? You came in.
I actually did really well. Let me just start out by that. So you
Let
can
me compliment you on that set. That was a good set. I saw that set.
That was, one of those sets where you have 90 seconds, which is also impossible for a comic. 90 seconds, clean material. That was a great moment. The standing ovation. It was all great. Watching it again. I actually, which I've talked about many times, it's not a secret. I mean, as soon as the NDA was, had passed, I was eliminated via email the day I was supposed to leave for the next round. So I really only performed that one time.
But standing O
from everyone.
But it's not to like a room of people. It's not to a crowd. You're literally talking to 3-4 people just sitting at a table.
Well, the audition was actually 3,000 people.
Oh, that's right.
That was before, the pandemic. So, but when I first auditioned, it was in a warehouse with 4 people.
And you have to make them laugh.
Which, by the way, I've done a bachelorette party for 5 people in their living room.
Oh, really?
Corporate. Oh, yeah. I mean, haven't you ever done shows like that?
The corporate bachelorette party.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've definitely done shows where there's nobody there or nobody paying attention. They're having conversations. I mean, I actually do okay in those corporate-y place, the rich guy's birthday party situation.
That's
but
right.
when you play the rich guy's birthday party, you got to ratchet it up like tenfold.
Oh, I've done that party many times.
People are eating,
They're
they're
not paying
mincing,
attention.
they're at the bar, they're walking around taking pictures. Like
I get off the stage with those types of things. If I can get off the stage, I will, because that's one of those things where you got to be in their face, like put that down and listen to me. You know what I mean? Type of thing. And they do. I think they appreciate that sort of like, whoa, the comic's coming off stage.
Well, so speaking, and in no particular order, because 14 years. I did a radio tour this morning that started at 6 a.m. and ended a little after 8 a.m. So I talked to like 28 stations, but 14 years.
It's amazing.
Everyone's just like, well, first off, doing something where you sit down and talk for an extended period of time is really not an achievement, if you think about it. Because there are many people who've worked in many accounting firms or for the IRS who've been there for 35 years, just sitting at the same place.
They don't have any balloons.
Moving the same papers around. I essentially look at podcasting as that. But we got a little snippet from the first one.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Which I remember very clearly, just alone in my, sitting with Donnie, actually, in my office in my house, and for the first time having just to sort of talk, because I was used to either doing Kevin and Bean or Loveline or my morning show where I was always sort of talking to somebody and we're kind of having a back and forth. I was just sitting there in my desk chair just talking, and I remember thinking, wow, it's going to be hard to do a whole one of these every day. And later on, Dr. Drew came in as a guest. Jimmy Kimmel came as a guest. Seth MacFarlane came as a guest. Andy Dick. I remember the ones who came to my house to do it in my office. And then at a certain point, I had this place. So we sort of built out the studio in the next room. And then at some point built this studio out, but we have a little 30-second snippet of it. First off, I got to say this. I'm nervous, and I don't know why, but I've never done this before, and I feel like I owe you guys so much. And when I say you guys, I'm talking about the people that found this, whatever this is. I don't even know what it's called. I think there's a way to do this. And again, I'm in it for the big picture, and I'm in it for the long term. So I don't need to make any money, not for a while. I want to build. I want to build a community here. But again, let's review. I need you to pull this off. I need you to spread it around, and I need to build this show. And this was essentially a dry run. But I'm going to get guests in here. I'll get some production. I'll get a studio, and we will create something together. But we're going to find our way. We're going to get our footing, and collectively, we can create a safe haven for smart people who have an opinion. And now we have Jody Miller.
I know. What all went wrong?
You willed this to existence.
It's crazy. 14 years. I mean, I was only 4 when you did that first
I
episode.
know.
So
you just adopted your first Asian.
At that age, yes. You did sound very young, actually, in that.
Yeah. I was spry and had the weight of the world on me. Yeah, I
don't need to make any money. This is just... And then all of a sudden...
Well, I had 9 months left on my radio contract.
All right. That's true. All right.
I was living my dream of being fired prematurely from a contract that needed to be honored. And you laugh, but that was my dream. Like when I come from a world where like I'd show up to the job site on a construction site when I was like 23, and I'd be like, "Where's Russ?" And they'd be like, "He fell off a ladder and he fractured his pelvis." And I'd be like, "Oh man." And then someone would go, "He doesn't have to come in for 3 weeks and he gets full pay." And I'd be like, "God damn it, that Russ is so lucky. I should throw myself off some scaffolding." And then later on, I remember hearing Opie and Anthony in New York got fired, but they had like 2 years left on their contract. And I was like, I remember saying to Jimmy, those guys, man, they got a rabbit's foot up their ass. And Jimmy's like, no, you don't want to get fired. And I was like, fired for 2 whole years of like getting paid? And I was so enamored with the concept. I come from a world where you don't get paid on Christmas Day.
Right.
You didn't get overtime. If you rolled your ankle playing hoops on a Sunday and you couldn't come in Monday, you just didn't get paid.
Nothing.
If you had to leave early to go to a dentist appointment at noon on a Friday, you got paid for 35 hours
Yep.
that week. Like every hour, every time you left.
Yep.
When I cleaned carpets, it'd go to a colony kitchen in Camarillo, a lot of alliteration there, work for like 3 hours. I wouldn't even get paid for drive time or anything. So the notion of getting paid for 9 months.
So you were fired and you just had to work out that contract?
I had a contract that got me through to the end of the year. The radio station flipped their format in like February, and I was like, I can't believe you're going to let me just go home and I'm going to still get a check. It was
so you didn't even have to come in?
No, I didn't have to go anywhere. I was like, if I had this deal with somebody where I was paying them $1 million and there was like 10 months left, I'd have them show up at my house.
Something. You have
and
to do
like
something.
Fucking rake leaves or clean the gutters or something. I can't believe. And by the way, I would have done it. Like if they said, look, instead of doing the morning show, you got to show up at Jack Silver, the program director's house, and you got to hose out his garbage cans. I would have been like, hey, okay, I'm on the clock. You're paying me a lot better than I used to get paid when I was a carpenter.
Those suckers. What was your mindset between hearing about you getting fired and not knowing you're going to do the podcast? Like, where were you mentally at that point?
What do you mean not knowing I was going to do the podcast?
Well, once they told you that we were flipping formats, like you didn't know what a podcast was. Like, what was your plan?
Well, they told me they were going to flip everything and blow everything up, but I was going to go to New York and I was going to continue on in New York. So I was like wrestling with the notion of, I had my twins were 2 years old.
Right.
How was this move to New York going to work? But I had a job. Everyone else didn't have a job, but they didn't know it. And then they told me, don't tell them. So I didn't say anything. And then at the very last second, I think it was like, so you're not going to New York either. And no one's going to New York. Everyone's just going home. And so then I was like, and I don't know when I found that out. And they won't in radio let you tell anybody they're getting canned a week early. So it was very hush-hush, and I knew we had millions of minutes of streaming the show every month, that they'd share that data with me. And I was like, if people are streaming it, then I can just go online and put the show on the computer, whatever, and do it myself. But there wasn't really any time between the time I wasn't going to New York and the time I was going to podcast. So I didn't know how to make money doing podcasting, but I just figured that and I didn't know anything. And people think maybe I knew something. I didn't know anything. I just thought this shall be done.
I have to say, first of all, congratulations with all sincerity. And secondly, the fact that you started out doing this every day, which I didn't know, is also, wow. Most people, when they do a podcast, are like, I'll do 1 show a week, maybe 2 shows a week. You were like, I'm going to do it every day, which is like amazing.
Yeah, I did radio every day when I started, and I just thought it's a job. You do it every day, even if you're not getting paid. It's still the audience that listen to the morning show is going to want to hear you every day and weigh in on whatever's going on in the world. And so I just committed to go every day. But as I tell people all the time, from the world I come from, sitting and talking, in your den with Seth MacFarlane is not really work.
It's not work.
No. So, I would tell people, go out and do something that makes you miserable for a little while and then get back to something. It's basically, the hot tub is lukewarm it doesn't feel that great, but go sit in a snowbank for 20 minutes and then you'll be dying to get back into
feel really good.
this hot tub that's, 77 degrees. And that's how I was with talking. I was like, it's just talking. You're sitting around. I mean, ironically, the best part of the work day when I worked was the half-hour lunch break where I could sit on a pile of drywall with 3 or 4 guys I liked who I worked construction with and like crack them up a little or tell some funny story about my girlfriend or something like that. And then at some point, the foreman would yell, all right, it's time to get back to work. And then everyone would shut up and go back to work. So I was like, I'm now going to get paid for the sitting and talking and eating part of the work day, which is the only part that's I don't get paid for, but I like it the most. And if you're going to pay me to sit on a pile of drywall for 2 hours and talk to people, then that's a pretty good job.
We just need somebody to come in here and say, all right, now get back to work. We need a foreman in here.
That guy's name would be Mike Stramak.
And you went to work the next day. You didn't take like a little break or anything like that?
No, I left the radio Friday, at 10 in the morning, signed off, and Sunday night, 2 days later, was sitting in my den. Wow. And that is it.
So 2009 Adam that we just heard, what do you think he'd say looking at 2023 Adam?
Oh.
Like, would he be happy with, is this what he imagined? Is this what you imagined back then?
Yeah, I don't know how everyone else is wired. I never really imagine anything. I'm just like, get up and go to work. I would be a horrible member of that band, the Imagine Dragons, because I'd be like,
You'd just be a dragon.
I'd just be a dragon. I go, listen, I got fire coming out of my mouth. And I got a tail.
I can't imagine.
But I have no imagination in terms of where this band is going.
Oh, you're not going to.
I don't even know my next chord. I can't even think that far ahead. So yeah, I just got up, showed up, and did it. I didn't think about what podcasting could be. I do remember early on some discussions of like maybe cars are going to be internet capable.
Right.
Like BMW's in 2011 is going to come out with the car you can get the internet on. No one figured the phone part of the whole mix in. I was speaking of that time doing morning radio. I don't know if you heard. You probably heard, Jody, that Richard Belzer died.
Yes. So sad.
Legendary comedian, just early and often, kind of New York guy, pretty tough around the edges, did a lot of crowd work.
His last words were "fuck you, motherfucker."
Are you serious?
According to somebody that was with him.
Died
at his home in France.
Who was he talking to when he said that?
It was
died at his home in France. Yeah, he didn't mince words. He was that dude.
Yeah.
He looked like he sounded.
Yes.
And he always kind of had a scowl on his face.
Yeah.
But he was funny.
Yeah, Law and Order is a big show.
What did he like die at? What was the cause of death?
Natural causes is all they're saying. He
young.
had long-time health issues.
Oh, yeah. I bet, yeah.
And
he looks like somebody that has long-time health
He was
issues.
kind of Bill Maher-esque in that he would just sit down and like start speaking his mind, like told you, like I ran into Bill Maher. I've run into Bill Maher 1,000 times, but I'd run into him at like Seth MacFarlane's Christmas party, and he's like, "You got kids?" And I'd go, "Yeah." And he'd go, "How's it going?" I go, "Good. I love them." And he'd go, "Yeah, right. Yeah, come on." And I'd go, "No, they're good." And he'd go, "Yeah, come on." And I was like, "Who says that to a parent?"
I don't know.
Well, Bill Maher does. And Belzer was kind of that dude too. And so he came in and did my morning radio show on KLSX in 07.
08, actually.
08.
Yeah.
Didn't you tell me 07?
I said, I think it was 07, and then I looked it up.
Okay. So the thing that's funny is I said to Chris, it's 07 or 08. I think Belzer came in.
Yeah.
And then he told me 07. But it's 08. And
so embarrassing.
And he came in. Now, this is 2000. So this is 15 years ago now. And he brought his dogs with him.
Dogs? How many? 2? 3?
Yeah, Chris has 2. So I had this.
Chris has 2.
Had this recollection.
So 3. So 3.
Yeah.
That the first time I'd ever heard about somebody flying with their dogs was from Richard Belzer, and he was the typhoid Mary of fucking idiots flying with their dogs because he was doing it and I was like, what?
Yeah.
And then everyone started flying with their dogs. But
It's a stirring tribute.
I
right?
told,
OG.
I said, I got a Belzer story. I think he's the first person who flew with his dogs. We'll play you that clip that Chris found.
Richard has brought along his 2 dogs, and we were just asking Richard, how do you travel with these 2 dogs? One is small enough to travel with.
I put him in my pants.
A lap dog. Richard has another dog that's a bigger dog. It's a medium to large, a large-sized dog that gets to fly
Border
with you as
collie.
well.
Well, with my wife for medical reasons.
Now, where does the dog sit?
Right at her feet.
I know. But with the airline, like I have a knapsack and I put it at my feet and I go, sorry, sir, that's going to have to go up to the thing for takeoff. And I'm going, I'll just set it on the ground there. No. It has to go to the upper.
Are you distressed that people need their canine companion?
Yeah,
with them?
this is a service dog.
I find it weird that it's one big effing rule, but you can bring your pets, not the service dog, but the
Dog
lap
just
dog.
yelling.
Well, here's my thing along that line.
So everyone listening.
They don't allow dogs in restaurants, but if unfortunately you're have sight impaired or you need a dog for other reasons, that's fine.
So the service dog and your larger dog, the border collie, performs what service?
It's called a seizure alert dog.
I had no idea
There's
that these
dogs
existed.
that can anticipate when someone is about to go in seizure, and they warn the person, and the person takes.
So there's
their
certain
medication.
physiological signs they pick up on?
That humans can't see. There are dogs that, they could smell the breath of their owner, and if it smells like almond, that means that they need to take their certain medication.
All right, hold on a second. Hold on. First off, my breath's going to smell like vodka if that's a 5-hour
So then
flight.
you need to take more vodka, is what the dog is telling you.
Number one. But number two, the dog alerts you to take your medication. And
Well, he said some dog, like there's a dog that can sense
There are dogs that actually can detect cancer too. I know this because I work on a trivia show. But the lap dog can detect if you have like a snack in your purse. That's about it.
But to predict, no, he's not even saying it can. His dog
Can predict when it's going to happen.
is saying, it will predict a seizure. But he's saying, like other service dogs, that, for instance, if they could smell almond in someone's breath, it means take their medicine.
Right.
But I don't think he's saying that his dog is a reminder to take medicine.
His wife's dog
His
is
wife's
a
dog
seizure
is.
dog.
Yes, his dog is just a pillow.
But so let's say the dog knows you're going to have a seizure. Then the dog alerts the pilot. How
the dog takes out his phone and starts recording.
So I don't know how this
the dog
works.
alerts you,
Yeah.
and then you can take preventive medicine.
Yes. So you know when you're like, if you're
So
going
the
to have a
dog,
heart attack,
the dog, it's like an earthquake, the earthquake alarm system.
Yeah, we're going to look into this a little bit because I'm not so sure.
Because that sounds like, because there are two kind of seizure dogs, right? There's a seizure alert dog and a seizure response dog. If it's just if it's a seizure alert dog, then they can get ahead of it. But seizure response dogs, they actually seem to be real. Whereas seizure alert dogs, reports are saying that it's still questionable.
I don't think. Look, if the thing's sleeping at your feet
Asleep.
against the bulkhead and you got your chair reclined and you're trying to catch a nap, do you think that dog's going to tell you to take medication? And then isn't this medication you should be taking anyway? Like, isn't that kind of on you? All right. I'm sorry.
I agree.
We'll listen a little more.
maybe
to it.
he can explain it.
That means that they need to take their certain medication,
Right.
and there are some cats that do that.
Hypothetical. You're sitting next to someone who's allergic to pet dander, is about to have a seizure because you brought the lap dog on the plane. The other dog could sniff that out in advance.
So everyone's covered. The dander alert dog.
It's a goddamn menagerie. Oh, Christ, here comes Belzer.
Oh, no.
Is that Noah or Belzer getting on this plane? Wow. All right, so you get to travel with a medium to large sized dog.
Well, the big dog travels with my wife.
And then what happens if the dog has to, make a number two?
Well, these are very highly trained dogs. They always go before they get on the plane. We've never had an accident in all these
Really?
years.
So they just...
I've never seen any dog, for that matter, go to the bathroom on an airplane.
They just drop a deuce at the Cinnabon and then it's right onto the plane.
I wouldn't say Cinnabon, but...
All right. Well, leaves a early. First off, he'll be missed.
Yes.
Not if you're sitting next to him on a plane, but if you go to a comedy club,
Yes.
he will not grace the stage
No.
anymore, and so he will be missed. But he was very early in the traveling
He
with
was.
the dogs.
He really was. Also, I have seen a dog take a shit on a plane.
Well,
yeah.
now.
Well, now
Yeah.
because they're just like any dog. Every dog it's emotional support dog. That's where you go into that gray. I have a whole bit about it, but it's like every dog is an emotional support
Keep
dog.
it clean, but go ahead.
I can't anymore. I wasted all my 4 minutes on
Yes,
NBC.
it's
That's
true. Everyone likes their dog.
Yeah, I get it. That's what, like, seriously, you want to travel with I want to travel with my cat, but that's not
Yeah.
going to happen. I actually don't. No. I got a pet to leave it at home. I don't need my pet with me 24/7. Do you know what I mean?
I would also argue that if you can't make it from here to Seattle because you're too tightly wound
Right.
or weirdly wired that you can't do it without a dog,
You shouldn't be traveling.
that's kind of on you.
Yes,
like you
exactly.
need some therapy.
Some people can't make it from here to Starbucks without their dog. It's not even
Right.
Seattle. Everybody, like, they just, I think we talked about this. Do you remember the days when you go outside, if you saw someone with a dog, it's because they were taking them for a walk or taking them to the vet.
There's purpose. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was it. You know what I mean?
I would say that from let's try to do this math. There's no such thing as these dog travel cases or anything like
Right.
that. Every time I get on a plane, I see someone scooping their dog in or scooping their dog out of
Right.
it. I would say from the beginning, since wolves sort of they surmised that wolves got friendly, and like the friendly ones realized that I can hang out with this guy and maybe sleep in the cabin
Right,
and get
get
some
fed.
food and stuff like that. So I'll drop my wolf-like attitude and suck up to the man, you know. And so since that time, when wolves became dogs, to all the way through my childhood,
Okay.
I mean your childhood, and all the way through until about 2007,
Okay.
dogs traveled 100% through their own power. Walking, going out,
Right.
coming back, going out and coming back.
That's it.
Yeah. Complete control of their
There has
destiny.
now been more miles of dogs
Yeah.
being carried and schlepped. We're now at a percentage where it could be 28% of dogs travel by
Yes.
being carried by their pussy whipped owners.
Yes.
I saw a dog in a stroller the other day.
That's what
Oh,
I'm
they
saying.
have strollers for cats and dogs, just specifically designed for them. That's it. They can't even walk. These little dogs are just in a stroller.
Yeah, it must be. It's an amazing evolution. If you could see those early wolves that were trying to get a couple of table scraps and sleeping outside in the cold and everything, to taking a shit, having the woman clean it up
Clean it
after
up,
them,
clean it up.
and then back into the stroller to
Yeah.
be
Back into
pushed
the
down the
stroller. What are
street.
opinions?
I wish early ancestor dogs could see that tableau.
Now, I'm someone who I grew up with dogs and cats. My adult life is mainly cats, but dogs enjoy walking. Am I incorrect
Yes.
in that statement? They enjoy it. They love it. They love to run and chase after
Yes.
balls and play catch and all of that. What makes these owners think that their dog wants to be in a stroller or a backpack?
And they're
that matter?
essentially being zipped into what would be sort of a bouncy castle for them and then toted through
Have
airports.
you ever seen the ones that look like little like little helmets that like they can look through? It's like a little ball. It's
Yeah,
like
there's a
around them.
viewing
Oh my
window.
God. Yeah, it's a viewing window to look at their dog that
Well,
they're taking for a walk.
that was the great Richard Belzer,
he'll be missed.
who shall be missed.
He's also he was also on the podcast the first year that you did it too. So
Oh, that's
he was
right.
an early guest. as well.
Yeah, he
Did he bring his dogs?
was married to a French actress who did like Cinemax movies.
I wrote for Cinemax.
And
I
sh-
get
oh,
it.
you did?
Uh-huh. I wrote for Coed Confidential.
She was, well, we got to get into
Yes.
that. She was very early money in that world because she was Emmanuel.
Oh, Emmanuel. I remember that. I know an actress that took over Emmanuel when she probably left.
I think that was who he married. She did Emmanuel, which is like
And still married to her if he died in France, right?
way before.
Well,
Everyone who dies in France is not married to Emmanuel.
I think they might be. I don't know. I feel like.
But they've definitely rubbed one out to her because that was pre all the internet and the porn and the
that was
DVDs and everything.
Yes. Simulated sex was very hot in the 80s and 90s.
Her name was, just give me her first name.
Okay, well, Emmanuel was Sylvia Crystal.
Crystal.
But he was not married to Sylvia.
Who was he married to then?
Harley McBride.
Who was another kind of did those?
Young Lady Chatterley.
Oh,
Yes, Young Lady Chatterley.
Young Lady
Yes,
Chatterley.
yes.
She took many lovers.
She sure did.
No one took lovers like Lady Chatterley.
And she also had a Border Collie service dog.
I don't feel like anyone. That's right. I don't think people take lovers anymore. They just get laid.
They don't. I know. I need a lover.
Yes.
She looks like someone who would have a Border Collie.
Right.
She was beautiful, and she kind of took over where Emmanuel, and then Emmanuel would be like Emmanuel.
They did Emmanuel in Space. That's when my
Yes.
friend was the actress. Krista Allen was
and
her.
Lady Chatterley. Yeah. So they had to have all these kind of topless in panties kind of 2-hour movies with 18 seconds of side boob, but that was enough to get you into the theater when you were 14.
Not when I wrote for Cinemax. We had to have 4 sex scenes per half an hour episode.
Really?
I remember thinking when we were having this meeting, like, so every 5 pages it has to be, and they still wanted a great storyline in the plot. They were college, so every 4 pages it was like, Adam, I have something very important to tell you, but first let's fuck, because it's page 5. Like, you have to, you know what I mean? Yes, Emmanuel in Space, Krista Allen. I'm friends with her.
Were you ever there when they filmed?
I went once. It was my first real writing job for a network because HBO owned Cinemax. And I really thought, because it was, there was another show that came out that was very risque, but it wasn't like soft porn. But it was on HBO, so I thought, I think it was Tell Me You Love Me or something like that. Or not Tell Me You Love Me, it was one of those things. But anyway, I was like, oh, this is okay. This is going to be great. And then I realized, because they were like, it's an American Pie meets Porky's, and it was just soft porn. It was just like non-union soft porn, but it was my first writing credit. It was me and 2 other writers. It was a lot of fun. I really loved writing on that show. Some of my best work looking at some of those scripts, except the sex scenes, I actually got really good at it. I know so many different words for orgasm, so many different ways to describe having sex. You have to get really into it, up, down, faster, faster, faster.
How would you write, like, what would it say on the script during
So
the
it
sex
would be
scene?
like, Jody and Steve, hide behind the bushes waiting to get into Professor Johnson's, you know what I mean? But then all of a sudden, Steve puts his hand on Jody's back and she realizes she doesn't have a bra. But he could have told her that already because her nipples were hard as rocks. You just like get into it, next thing.
It's like almost like an erotic novel.
It kind of is. And then in the script, you got to go. And then they, come, but it's all simulated. This was the best, is that at the time that the first season, and we did 4 seasons, and then there was a movie, Spring Break, Co-Ed Confidential Spring Break. At the time that it came out, we got DVDs to watch. And I was watching with 2 other guys. It was very uncomfortable. I was very uncomfortable with this, but I wanted to see it. And I remember being horrified because this was really good. It was a comedy, and on paper, these are actually really great scripts. We used it. My agent used it as a sample for a while. But when I watched the non-union actors performing the dialogue, I just remember like being horrified. So I called my dad up.
The people who look good naked were supposed to deliver the jokes.
The jokes.
Right.
No, that wasn't happening. So I called my dad, and I was like, I can't believe it. It's like my first real writing job on a television show, and they're just butchering my lines. This is what my dad says to me. He's like, well, why don't you go on the show? And this is what I said in the order that I said it. I go, oh, Dad, it's non-union. And then I said, and I'd have to, yes. And also I'd have to look 18. And do you want your daughter doing soft porn?
And when they did the porn scenes,
yes,
were they like tucked in tape?
So it's funny because the women topless, and then they had like a piece of fabric over their vagina, and the men had like a nude colored thong thing going on. So you would only see, you would see him going like this. For those people that are just listening, I'm grabbing her hips and I'm thrusting. See how I can describe?
That was awesome.
Thank you. You wouldn't be able to, they wouldn't actually show any penetration. There's no penetration. So, yes, obviously. So it was, it was a lot of that. And meanwhile, we would get notes like, okay, you need 4 full sex scenes per 23 pages or 24 pages, cannot just be a tit shot. It can't just be a blowjob either.
Oh, there's a quota.
Yes, you can do girl on girl. That counts as a full sex scene. But it can't just be like she blows him. That's not a sex scene. That's that's a teaser. It's an appetizer. You know what I mean? So I had to like really be like, is this going to turn into a full sex scene, or am I going to throw a couple extra blowjobs in there, a couple extra hand jobs, which I'd sprinkle around.
Liberally?
Yeah, obviously. They're college. Yeah, see?
I was thinking about when you said that the woman just had a piece of fabric draped over her vagina. I was picturing, I don't know why, but I was picturing that trick magicians do where they put the handkerchief over their hand and then they take their thumb and stuff it, because that would be my move with the fabric, and then at some point hands would fly out, cock would fly out, and there'd be nothing there. Where'd it go? And then I'd pull it out of her ear.
I should have written that in. That would have been great.
That's right.
Out of your, I'm sure that happened on set. I can't imagine.
I had to have guys getting boners on those sets.
No way. Although it's full of like crew, would you be able to like concentrate?
Professional setting, yeah.
Listen, every guy I know has gotten full-on boners in biology class, on a school bus.
Podcast studios.
Obviously.
Like young guys can get boners anywhere. And so it doesn't really make a difference if there's a crew hanging around.
I can tell you as a woman, we would not be turned. I'm sure they were just like, this is work. And one of the actresses that stayed on, I think the longest, she was an actual porn star that I think she was like, oh, this is an upgrade. I don't actually have to have penetration and I'm on a show that's on Cinemax. Like, this is good. And she's the only one that did. She was like Stockard Channing in Grease. Like, you could tell she didn't look like a college student. Is what I'm saying. Everybody else kind of had that like innocence to them. You know what I mean? And she was like, I've been around the block. So, I mean, but you know what? I have to say it was maybe one of the best jobs I've ever had. And while I was doing that show, I got hired to to clean up a slasher flick where I was killing off teens, Truth or Dare. That was the name of it. And what's interesting is that I had a bigger problem. Like, it was more disturbing for me, even though I love that kind of stuff, writing these death scenes, killing these kids creatively, you know what I mean? I'd have to go back and just write porn. Like, I just was like, I got to get this out of my brain. I just killed two people. Yeah, let me get over here and do some, college fucking.
I never knew that chapter of your life, but I'm glad I do now.
Just for your 14th anniversary.
Yes, a flash. All right, we got Chris who's going to work on some news. We got Jason Alexander coming in here in like 20 minutes or so. So Jody's going to hang out, take a break, we'll do some news, and then we'll talk to Jason Alexander, and we'll do all that after this. I don't know why razors cost so much. Well, I don't even know how much they cost here because they're locked up in a cage. I don't got that kind of time. Harry's Razors, incredibly sharp, made their own factory in Germany. And for just as little as $2 per blade, delivered straight to your door. So you don't have to go find the guy with the keys to the shark cage. Comes right to your door. Get a quality shave without the hassle. The Truman Shave Trial Set, a $15 value, just $3 at harrys.com/Adam. Includes a 5-blade German-engineered razor, weighted handle, feels so good in your hand, foaming shave gel, and a travel cover as well. Plus, schedule replacement blade delivery whenever you need them with refills as low as $2. Highest customer satisfaction in the shaving industry, and a no-risk trial. You don't like your shave? It's on them. That's harrys.com/Adam. Right, Dawson?
Don't get overcharged for razors. Get Harry's. Get a $15 Truman Shave trial set for just $3 at harrys.com/Adam. That's harrys.com/Adam for a $3 trial set. As we celebrate 14 years of podcasting, here's another memorable moment from the Adam Carolla Show's Ace Awards archives.
I agree. And when I welcome people into my home where I rape my children, I will not have them
raise.
Were you trying to say raise?
Raise.
No, he said raise.
I said where I raise.
Okay, because
It sounded like rape. I heard it too,
we'll
Brian.
check the tape.
Well,
What's wrong with
now
you,
who's the
Brian?
weirdo?
No. That is weird.
Brian,
I don't
first
think
off,
you're thinking about this during the show. Brian.
there was
Brian has
one
cancer.
class
I'm
I
trying to be
did
in the
complete in LA Valley College. It was called Voice and Diction. Elocution, my dear boys. I do this for a living. I think I know what comes out of my mouth. check the tape or Google that shit,
Dawson,
would you?
mark that, please.
Google it. No, just Google it. Just go ahead and Google it. All right, just look it up. Look it up. All right. Anyway, may I continue? My program?
Please.
Okay. And get your heads out together.
We're in your home.
Okay. When I invite people into my home where I rape my children.
I'm telling you, Dawson.
I heard it that time.
Mark it.
All right, now hold on a second. Let me explain something because
You're
another
clearly
class
saying rape.
Now, for some new memorable moments, let's get back to the Adam Carolla Show.
Oh, that's Joe Coy. All right, Jody Miller's here talking porn.
Yeah.
Can I tell you the worst era of
porn?
soft core?
Oh.
Era versus type. Because
Okay.
there was a time when the soft core sort of overlapped with
Right.
the hardcore, but we had not signed off on hardcore like in hotel rooms and stuff.
Right.
You could see, DVDs or
Yeah.
VHS tapes or something. But there was a version of hardcore porn that was hardcore porn, but they'd have to cut out all the penetration.
Did they do that?
Oh, so it was softcore because of editing.
Yes. So what they said is we have all this porn, but we can't show it in the Hilton Hotel
Right.
franchise. So what we'll do is we'll just do a porn movie. We'll take a regular hardcore porn movie, and we can show the chick taking her top off and all that kind of stuff and laying down on the sofa and stuff, but we'll have to cut around any of the penetration, no penis whatsoever. Zero penis. And I don't even know, I'm looking at you, Dawson, like what variety of porn this was.
Yeah, as far as I remember, and I could only see it scrambled on the Playboy channel.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that's where all that stuff ended up.
Well, we'll
Yeah.
see if we can find any of that or like what it's called.
What if
yeah.
there was a major plot point during the
Well, I was
penetration?
going to say,
What are you
though,
gonna do?
that movie was probably, 20 minutes then after they cut out all of the sex scenes?
Yeah, but you guys would artfully make these and creatively shoot this
Yes.
stuff to simulate this.
Yes.
If you're actually doing it and you're just cutting around
No.
it was just close-up pictures of the guy sweating
Yeah.
his face, going, oh, yeah.
Which is exactly what you want to see.
That's it. Like, you'd see the boobies when the chick took her top off, and then it's like, and I was like, after 20 minutes of that, I'm like, I've never wanted to see Ron Jeremy's cock so badly in my life. But that's the rule was you cannot show any penis.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so it was lots of close-ups of sweaty guys with mustaches, and I was like, this is the worst.
Let me ask you guys, though, in all the different eras, though, are you guys a fan of the story, the plot? Like Emmanuel, that kind of stuff. Debbie Does Dallas. They had, it was a legitimate story. It was a script. It was compared to what we have now, which is just MILFs fucking
except
other
for
MILFs.
Taboo 2. Because the guy was having sex with his sister, and I followed along with that.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
I'm that way with the Adventures of Black Man and Anal Woman.
Are
They're a
you?
great plot.
Oh, do you?
That was
Sound
it.
all the way up.
Okay, see, that sounds like a
DC,
movie,
Marvel.
right?
Yeah.
That sounds like
I
a
prefer
movie.
the
Back off.
Snyder cut. of
Black
that.
Man and
Yeah.
Fast
Anal
forward
Woman
through the
rules.
sex scenes.
Yeah, no, you're only into it for the plot.
Okay, great.
All right, Max Zapata, what do you... and I got to find out what that genre was called of porn,
Bad. I
hardcore
think
porn
bad.
that was
Yeah, I don't like it.
cleaned
Just
up.
bad.
It was cleaned up for the Playboy.
that's-
Essentially,
channel.
it seems to be just called a softcore edit.
softcore
Softcore
edit.
edit.
Sure.
But
Right.
then somebody was smart and was like, let's just do simulated so that we don't have to cut around it and you get to still see.
But
A lot.
Playboy Channel at 2 a.m. would go, we don't want to pay for this stuff's
Right.
already been made. I can just
Right.
pay
Yeah, that's
some
right.
Poindexter to cut.
That's true.
But imagine what the editor's reel looked like.
Oh my God.
All he had was a hard drive that had nothing but cock and balls.
Oh, yeah, that cutting
in
room
it.
floor.
Right?
Drive of
gross.
dumped footage.
Real quick, I actually also worked at Playboy doing a comedy. They had a comedy division, and we were dubbing these like Swedish porn, like softcore porn. It was a great show too. That was super fun. Anyway, I had to watch. I remember being at my desk watching. This is like only like 6 years ago. Like catching up on all the episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I clicked over to my email, and someone was walking by, like my boss. It's the first time at work I had to get off of my email and go back to porn. Like if you didn't have porn on my computer, I was like, I'm watching porn. I'm watching so much porn right now. But I was like, I just want to go to Instagram for I'm watching porn. So much porn. Look at that. Oh.
They just got to go to HR and report you for not watching porn at work.
I'm like, I was, but I had to answer an email. They're like, we got to watch the porn.
Going through your logs.
That is so funny.
Do you watch it for the plot? Is that something that you really appreciate?
No, girls. I mean, no. We watch it for 5 minutes because that's all we need, and then we go to sleep.
And they would also shoot some porns both ways.
Yes, that's right.
So you had the softcore version of it that was digestible for the folks that were in the rooms alone at a Hilton.
It's like a pop star singing their song in Spanish.
And digestible is the right word.
Yes. All right, what do we got?
All right, well, Brittney Griner. She's back. She just signed a 1-year deal with the Phoenix Mercury for a $165,000 free agent contract.
That's
it? I thought you were going to say $165 million.
It's WNBA money.
She just escaped a prison.
She's of course, but playing in the WNBA, that's the free agent contract.
I shouldn't she just be kind of a lost leader for the team? Like, give her $500,000. You're going to lose a few bucks on her, but you're going to get more people out of curiosity, come in and get some woke points and stuff like that.
They're doing everything to get the WNBA off the ground, and bring more eyes to it. I mean, the NBA is working really hard on doing that. They've been working on it for years. It's just not catching.
The NBA or the WNBA?
The NBA has been
working for the WNBA.
Yeah, like years ago, Kobe would be sitting courtside with his daughter at all the games. Like they would on their Instagram, they'll post a bunch of WNBA clips. They really want this to take off. It's fun to watch, but it's just nobody wants to watch it.
Yeah.
It's not catching. Maybe, and it could be because they're just not dunking it as hard, or the ball's a little smaller.
I mean,
it's fun to watch. I mean, it's all there, like the strategy.
They're draining the threes.
Yeah.
The thing about sports is, I think baked into sports is this elite level thing, male or female. We just want to watch who's ever the best at this is be the best at it. And as long as there's the NBA, I don't think there's a part in sports where you go, these people are really good at this for women.
Right.
And I think that's the problem.
I think tennis is the only sport that you will watch women over the men in the same sport for some reason. MMA's kind of catching up a little bit. Yes, definitely, because we want to see women just kicking the shit out of each other in small outfits. But I think
pretend both of them are my mom.
Right? Yeah, just fucking beat shit out of each other. But that's probably why with tennis too, because they're wearing short outfits, they're grunting. It's very and the Williams sisters really put it on the map. But even before then, I feel like women's tennis was really like it got much bigger than.
Billie Jean King and Chris Everett and all that. God, I'm trying to think of Yvonne. God, she had a crazy name. She's like Russian.
The Russian girl who is really pretty,
really pretty, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, that's a different one. This is even before her.
Oh.
Yvonne Duckabop. Anyway.
Duckabop.
Yeah. She was really good. Well, also golf, too. Women's golf is taking off. They're doing co-ed tournaments. And
so, here's the thing with the WNBA. Is the experiment over after 20 years? America has spoken.
It is like the joke now. Like, anytime the NBA would post a WNBA clip, there would be a bunch of, what are they doing out of the kitchen jokes and things like that. And those would be the top comments. They would just...
Yeah, well, $1.65 does not feel like a professional sports, especially. All right, how many names in the WNBA can the average American name?
One, Brittany,
and she hasn't cracked. She hasn't cracked $200,000.
That's crazy. Well, she is now. I'm sure she has book deals, movie deals, endorsements. She's fine.
Yeah, do you see her at the Super Bowl? She's in the audience at the Super Bowl. She's hard to miss.
She is a giant.
Yeah,
she's a giant.
Oh, I mean, look, she's 2-time Olympic gold medalist, 8-time WNBA All-Star, arguably the greatest female basketball player of all time.
And gets paid what a local morning show sidekick gets paid in a top 23 market, like market number
that what they get paid?
23.
Wow.
Those guys could make $1.65 in that market. Sad. All right. What else?
All right. Well, remember that woodshop teacher in Canada with the big prosthetic boobs, and
Yes.
students were not allowed to take pictures of her because you'll get suspended if you take a picture of your teacher. So anyway, a neighbor of this teacher, Kayla Lemieux is what she goes by. A neighbor came out and said, "Oh yeah, he wears prosthetic breasts very infrequently. He puts them on to teach, but when he goes for a walk or when the cops visit, that's when we'll put him on. But otherwise, I just see him walking outside in regular clothes."
Because they're heavy. I would never wear those.
Yeah.
He is
Attractive.
He's just gaming everybody, right?
Yeah. He has to be.
Yeah. He's saying, you guys are all fucking woke here in Canada, and I'm going to fuck with your shit. And so he puts on giant tits and a giant wig and then shows up to school. And then the school board, they don't see the ultra woke have painted themselves into a corner because when they were talking about, gay marriage and LGBT rights and stuff, that was sort of like, yeah, okay, yeah, I agree. But then at some point, they're like, well, everyone can define their own sex and make their own pronouns. And then the woman's room could be the men's room, and the men's room could be the woman's locker room, could be the men's locker room. If he, in fact, or she says, formerly he, that he is a she. And you guys went so far down the woke highway that you fucked your shit up. You have this, and now you have this cartoon sideshow showing up and freaking the kids out, but you're so woke in Canada that you can't actually discipline the person. Now, I would argue that if a bosomy woman just showed up in a ill-fitting T-shirt with no bra, I would say you could say to that faculty member, hey, you have to dress appropriately.
These are teenagers.
Right.
So
Why do they have to have nipples like that?
I know. Well, okay, so here's the thing. So if you remember, the neighbor said when she goes to school or when cops generally come over to do welfare checks, because there are like bomb threats coming into this school. There are death threats, right?
Why?
So cops generally have to come and check if this teacher's doing okay. Well, so there was an interview, actually, that the Post did, and the teacher says, "My breasts are, quote, real. I'm not a transgendered person, but I was born intersex, and I have a rare condition known as gigantomastia."
What?
So she's trolling even interviews now.
Right, because it's a dude.
Where's this interview?
On the Post.
Oh
yeah,
my
just
God.
recently. Yeah, so there's that.
They're not real. Those are not real.
And just recently they got another bomb threat at the school. So
that's ridiculous. That is actually ridiculous. Like, what is wrong with people? See, there's like people that go too far on both sides. What are you why are you doing bomb threats?
Yeah, we have a picture of so
that's the dude.
Yeah, walking outside. That's it.
All right. Well, you get what you pay for. And this is it. Look, the school just day one should have went, hey, freak show, this is just too big a distraction and you can't come in. But, if the vice principal wants to come in here with a mini skirt that's higher than her vagine, then we're going to tell her to go home.
Well, yeah,
too.
you don't let students do that. Also, that second picture that you just showed with her walking, that was a vest on. She could do that. It's the shirt with the nipples protruding. Look at that. You can just, that's a little see-through. But you know what I mean? Like, if you just cover it up, then it just,
Right, yeah.
Then wear it.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, they're
these, I mean, I think, other countries, this wouldn't work because somebody would just take you out.
Yeah.
That's this wouldn't work in many of the Central American countries where they just go, I've had enough of this person.
Do one of your co-ed students that you wrote for, did they ever
Co-ed confidential?
Yeah, they ever go get with a woodshop teacher? Because
I've definitely written that scene. Are you kidding me?
All right. Well, anyway, this guy's a hero to me.
I know.
Because I just love it when we're going to get more and more trolling now because the rules are more and more insane.
Yes.
So we're going to get more guys with beards and cocks and balls hanging out in the ladies' locker room of the YMCA because why wouldn't they? The same way we got more people traveling on a plane with a dog.
That's right.
You guys left the door open. You counted on people having dignity. you counted on people being able to regulate themselves and have dignity, and they don't.
There
And
you go.
now we're all paying the price.
Now you've got big boobs.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, there's a new drug on the streets, Adam. I feel like you should know about this. So it's called xylazine, but the street names are Trank Dope, or Zombie Drug.
Who named those?
The streets.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Well, so they literally
Pfizer or Upjohn.
it literally rots the user's skin. So it first really had prominence in Philadelphia. So mainly it's coming out
Did
of
you
Philly.
say it rots through your skin?
Yeah. Well, so what it is, it's mainly Philadelphia. Then it's already migrated to like San Francisco, LA, all the usual hotspots.
Right.
So it is a pharmaceutical drug used for sedation, anesthesia, muscle relaxation, and analgesia. And I don't even know how to say that in animals such as horses, cattle, and other non-human mammals. And patients, so they'll take it, they inject it, or you can inhale it, and they suffer damage to their blood vessels that lead to gaping wounds appearing on their bodies. Yeah, so some are left unable to walk. People need amputations.
We're entering the kind of Soylent Green phase of our society where we're going to need to just have bulldozers take people off the streets and mulch them and like turn them into some sort of protein paste at this point. We were long past we need sustainable housing. So these people, we're now on zombie patrol.
It's happening.
At this point, we're on zombie patrol.
Yeah. So it's also not an opioid, so it doesn't respond to Narcan if you overdose.
Oh, good.
So is this like ketamine? Because ketamine is a horse tranquilizer.
Yeah, I would say it is then. If it's they call it trank.
Well, CNN must be all over this because
But ketamine doesn't have these side effects.
ivermectin was horse paste, right? So CNN's going to jump all over
These
this
poor
one.
horses.
But
Yeah, I know. What we've done to poor horses.
Yeah, and they'll cut it with they'll mix it with heroin or
Clearly.
fentanyl. Obviously,
I've heard you can't even really get heroin anymore. I've heard it's like
I know where to
all
get it.
fentanyl.
Ah.
You know?
I know where to get it.
got a spot?
I got a spot. I got a person. No, it is all fentanyl. That's the problem. People are just dying.
Yeah, and it's all synthesized and everything's coming from China through Mexico. Like it's really, I mean, you know, we could deal with the weed and we could deal with the booze and even the cocaine.
Yeah.
Hell, cocaine, have a few rails, have a good time.
Can't
but
anymore.
now we're getting into some sort of weird zombified air.
Yeah.
And people, you know, I don't know how you're supposed to walk amongst these people anymore because you and your kid are going to like go down the street, but they're on the sidewalk and one guy's got a machete and like what is it?
The other guy's got gaping wounds.
Right. Where are we? What are we to do with this now?
I mean, honestly, I can't even. And you have teenagers. I have a 2-year-old. What are drugs going to be like? We're using horse tranquilizers and synthesizing them. What is my daughter when she's old enough? What is that going to be?
You know what it's like? Any good 80s or even 90s movie where there were running drugs, they had to make up a drug.
Oh.
They had to make it up, and it would be like bright green and iridescent in the vial, and some guy would be explaining that this stuff is 10 times more potent than cocaine and heroin or whatever. They'd give it some name that started with ice.
Right.
Yeah,
Big,
so
big
it's
plot
ice.
point in Harley Davidson and the Marlboro Man.
Yes. There was always something, and they'd open an attaché case that had a light in it.
Yes,
They always glowed.
They
It
always
was like
glowed in the dark.
glowed. It was like backlit, and they go, "This is going to make us more powerful if we could only get rid of that Tango and Cash." You know?
Also, the Brian Bosworth movie.
Renegade.
No, what was that called? Shit.
That was
know
Emmanuel in space. He had a smallish part.
yeah.
He was still playing for
He's good,
Oklahoma
he's
back
good.
then.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got to find so it was a lot of, they call it, and it was something ice, and the attaché case would be lit and be something green, and they'd go 10 times more powerful than heroin, 15 times more addictive than cocaine, and we're going to unleash this on on America. But we're kind of there now.
No, we're there.
Because pot, you'd have to have pot plants. You have to grow that.
Yes.
And then heroin you have to get from opium. They have to have poppy fields in the Middle East and places. But we could
Coke you have to get from the 80s.
we could bomb or burn or whatever bust, but now it's all just being synthesized.
That's what it is. It's not even. Yes, you can't even try anything off the street. Not that I'm going out buying stuff off the street.
Yes,
or you are, but you can't because everything is cut with fentanyl.
I completely agree, and maybe it's all those carts serving hot dogs out on the street have kind of lowered our guard.
Oh, yeah, just buying stuff off the street.
If you'll go to some random Mexican and just buy random hot dogs that they've been cooking on a shopping cart with bacon they wrapped around it, and you'll just happily eat that, then what's wrong with taking some drugs off the street? It's just another dude selling something on the street.
It's true.
Yeah, it could be the same guy.
Yeah, it lowered our tolerance for just
those hot dogs were so
trusting people on the street. Yeah. All right. We got one more?
Yeah, before I get to that, I just got some stats because this is the 14th year of the Adam Carolla show. So we are right now, we are on episode 3,493.
Wow. That's impressive.
And collectively, Adam, you have spoken into a microphone on this show for 250 days, 19 hours, 33 minutes, and 16 seconds. Not including today, obviously.
People listening say it seems longer. That's the feedback.
That's sort of the same reaction when we heard what Brittany was getting paid. Everyone's like, that's it?
$1.65.
Poor Brittany.
Yeah.
Well, so Pink, she's going back out on tour. She's great, right?
She is.
Yeah, everyone loves Pink because she's a strong woman.
She's a strong woman, yeah.
Yep.
Well, her daughter, Willow, 11 years old, she's taking her out on tour to work for minimum wage. So she'll make just as much as Brittany Griner.
Yes, exactly.
All right.
But yeah, not clear what the job is, but she did say that, look, we just went over minimum wage. It's different from state to state. But yeah, so she's going to be.
Which sounds like that's great. You're teaching her that, but she's still your daughter. Like, what are we? You know what I mean? Like, she's.
Yeah, like you fall off that trapeze, she owns all the houses.
Everything. Exactly.
And the publishing rights.
They're not putting her in charge of the trapeze because they know that she will not secure it.
Yeah, of course.
Yes, she's probably rigging it.
Yeah, she's rigging it as we speak. Minimum wage.
All right, now let me explain as a parent. You start off ambitious, you know, and I'm going to teach her about minimum wage. I'm going to teach her about economics. I'm going to teach her responsibility. And I'm not only that, but we're going to be in Georgia and we're going to be playing in Cincinnati and we're going to be playing in Vegas, and they all have different minimum wages. And I'm going to go ahead and calculate that for every new state we go into. That's going to last 1.5 states on this tour that's 34 states. And some she's go, fuck it, you get $8 an hour. Or she'll just give her $200 at the end of the week or something.
That's
as a parent, there's no way. You know, hey, Pink, we need you for your encore. Hold on, I'm doing some calculations back here. She's got her change belt on.
Spreadsheet.
She's pulling the lever on that old-timey calculator.
Visor.
She has a green visor on.
Yeah.
They want you out on stage. Hold on.
I'm busy.
Are we in golden time here? What time is it here in this state? Because there's
overtime.
Overtime, time and a half.
Yes, but if a minor works past 10 p.m. in the state of Georgia, then she has to be bumped up to.
Yes.
Yeah, she's never going to keep it up.
No.
But I like where her head's at.
Yeah, me too.
All right, Jason Alexander is out there. So I can't wait to talk to him. We'll take a quick break. Jody's hanging out. Jason's coming in. That is right?
Yeah.
Okay. And we'll do that.
No. Everybody's in.
Who, you?
Yeah.
What could you possibly add to
Jason
Alexander? You have some questions loaded up?
Yeah.
Okay. Just don't embarrass me, dude.
I won't.
Okay.
Yeah. I loved him in Friends.
Oh, was he? No.
Right? He was in.
See, you've already embarrassed it. But you can't use Friends because Friends has tons of guest
stars.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
See, he's already fucked it up.
I'm already effing it up. Well, I just thought because
they have Brad Pitt
Seinfeld
walks on
Friends.
there, and Tom Selleck walks on there. They have millions of, and he was on Friends. All right.
Yeah, he's great.
Say Gilligan's Island next time. We're gonna.
All right.
That doesn't really work. Have Jody punch it up during.
Okay, yeah.
Emmanuel is
Right.
great.
Everyone
I love
loves
him and
Raymond.
Emmanuel
Everybody
in
loves
space.
Raymond.
Yeah, everyone loves Raymond. That'll work. All right, Jason Alexander. Right after this. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Love these guys. Thanks for coming on board, O'Reilly, for 2023. And what can I say? I was with O'Reilly when I was swinging a hammer. I was with O'Reilly when I was punching a heavy bag. I've always been with O'Reilly Auto Parts. It's O Rewards Bonus Points Month at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Shop in store or online. Get points and rewards sent straight to your phone or your inbox. You can get 2, 3, or even 4 times the bonus points on select purchases to get you to your next reward even faster. Receive a $5 reward for every 150 O Rewards points. And if you're already an O Rewards member and not receiving the rewards, just add your email or mobile phone number and get a $10 reward just for updating your existing account. And you sign up. And it's quick and it's easy. Just go to O'ReillyAuto.com, O'ReillyAuto.com, or do it in a store. That's an O'Reilly store.
The Adam Carolla Show presents Jason Alexander's birthday cocktail party. For September 23rd, let's see who's invited. Greek playwright Euripides is here. So is the first Roman emperor, Augustus Caesar, and the Mongol emperor, Kublai Khan, the most famous person to be infected with the disease typhoid. With a kill list of at least 51 people in New York City, Typhoid Mary. Mickey Rooney just joined the party. John Coltrane just walked in. Let's welcome NFL coaches Marty Schottenheimer and John Harbaugh. The boss, Bruce Springsteen, is here. Ani DeFranco just walked in. And didn't see this coming, and neither did he. Ray Charles is here. Jason Alexander is on the Adam Carolla Show.
Good to see you, my friend.
Wow, I didn't know I had so many emperor linkages.
Yes.
I
Very regal.
I feel like there must be something in my DNA that.
Yeah.
Didn't I just bring up Typhoid
You
Mary?
did, Typhoid
Yeah,
Mary.
Typhoid Mary.
Look at
That was weird. I never bring
I'm a
her up.
natural spreader.
Should I be nervous sitting next to you?
Jason's got himself a podcast.
Oh,
called,
yeah.
Really? No, really. With Peter Tilton, a guy I love who's on the radio
He sends
here.
you his big regards, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, he's really a longtime L.A. radio fixture for those who like the genre. And
Yeah.
I always did. I love
In fact, I met
the
him on the
genre.
air. I did a show, I think in 92 or 93, and we had a great time on the air. And he said, "You want to get breakfast?" I went, "I think I do." And we've been best friends ever since.
Well, now the bar's pretty high for me.
Well, it can be leapt.
So, Jason, I guess you're exquisitely recognizable. I imagine you just and Seinfeld.
I've never
is
heard the word exquisite.
exquisitely recognizable. Seinfeld is in perpetuity in syndication, so you probably can't make it through an airport.
I can absolutely make it through an airport. You mean unrecognized? I get
Yes.
recognized, but I'm happy to report, and this has always been true. The kind of people that give a rat's about recognizing me are very nice people.
Oh, that's
and
nice.
they're very polite. They're very respectful. I remember when my kids were little, if I had a screaming infant at the airport, people would not interrupt during those moments for the most part, but they would find their times. And I know many celebrities who, I'm sure you're one, who fans are rabid and they want what they want. They'll take a part of you.
I'm a little dubious when celebrities who do not like people approaching them explain that they're so intrusive, and I've only had people be nice.
Yeah, me too.
Pretty much exclusively. They want to take a picture sometimes, or they just want to say hi or something like that. And it's like, it's a nice little that-a-boy. It's not like you're walking off a stage. You're just going through Burbank Airport, and someone gives you the none, and
You bet.
And
You
it's
bet.
it's like kind of being at a perpetual high school reunion, where people go, "Hey, man, how you doing?"
And none other than a gentleman we just had on Really No Really in an upcoming episode, Bill Shatner, who's become a friend. But he was a birthday gift when I turned 35. Some friends of mine bought him, because he can be bought. Bought him to be my birthday present.
So
we
you
had lunch.
sex with Shatner?
Wrapped? Wrapped or not wrapped?
It was cuddling. I wouldn't say it went as far as actual sex, but he went out of his way, and I don't know why, because Seinfeld was just about to get into the real meat of the success of the show. And he told me the story about when he was doing Star Trek, how he was resentful of it because it wasn't a big hit for him. But it sort of defined his career, and people would start coming up to him, and he really didn't enjoy that. And he admitted to being a bit of an ass. And he said, "Look, man, you're in your 30s. I know you're going to want to move on after this, but people are going to come up to you for this for the rest of your life, and you just have to know it's more to them than a celebrity sighting. It's more than a show. You were a part of their lives. You gave them or shared moments with them that for them make you more than a stranger. So when they come up to you, if you don't acknowledge that, you're actually doing great harm. So be a good man." And it was great advice. I don't know that I would have been a jerk anyway, although I have my tendencies. And that has been the exchange with almost everybody. And because of that, people do come up and say, "Hey, I was going through dark stuff. I lost a parent. I lost a child. I was sick. I lost a job. And you guys got me through. You made me laugh, and we're really grateful." And it's a very nice way to go through the world.
I agree. Just spin it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I noticed that when I had this warehouse and it was filled with Paul Newman race cars, and somebody would say to me 3 or 4 times a year, like, "My dad's in town and he's a huge Paul Newman guy. He loves all the race cars." So sometimes say my dad was at Road Atlanta when Paul drove that car in 1987 or something like that. I know it's a huge deal. It's a big imposition. It's Saturday, and I know how busy you are. And I would always go, "No, bring your dad by." Yeah. And I would notice about halfway into the tour that the dad saying repeatedly, "Oh, that's so cool. Oh, do you drive this one?" "Yeah, I drove it at Laguna Seca 3 months ago." "Oh, that's so cool." I never felt better about myself in my life because I had this person marveling at my shit.
Yeah.
Where normally I've just walked through it arguing with someone on the phone and not even stop and smell the roses. So it kind of forces you. But so how old were you when you started Seinfeld?
I think I was exactly 30. I think Seinfeld was basically in my 30s.
So, and before the Seinfeld, you were on Pretty Woman, and I know you
before,
and you got recognized for that role in a different way, right?
In a different way.
Yeah, slightly different way. Yeah. I was not. I would get spotted by women on the streets of New York from a block away, and that evil. I was Satan, and they'd come up and have things to say. I'd get smacked every now and then.
There are a lot of evil roles out there, but your guy was super douchey.
He was very douchey,
Yes.
and you have to credit Gary Marshall for that, because I've told this story before, but Pretty Woman was kind of cobbled together on the fly. There was a script, but the script was much darker, and they hired Gary Marshall, who is not a dark guy. And Gary was creating the movie that you now know in his head. But as a result of that, often we'd throw the script out, we'd ad lib, we'd play around, and we would do different kinds of approaches on different scenes. So in the scene, the one that I'm most notorious for is the one where I attack Julia Roberts, and then Richard pulls me off and beats me up and throws me out the door. But we did a version of that scene where she beat the hell out of me. I mean, we did funny, we did slimy, we did gradations. And so Gary went into the editing room and cobbled together the performance, I guess his impression of me.
Well, they couldn't use the scene where Julia Roberts beat the shit out of you because you had a boner the entire time. And so I remember Gary saying on a podcast that was unusable.
They couldn't get around.
They didn't have.
It wasn't
CGI.
about. It was about Hector Elizondo.
Clearly.
So you start Seinfeld and you're 30. Obviously, you have no idea where this thing is going. it turns into, I don't know, the most iconic sitcom probably ever.
It's doing
I would say
okay.
that.
But I know that you're a big Shatner fan from your young days
Yeah.
because that's what made you want to act.
There were two people that really, because I never thought of myself as an actor until I was a young teenager. But when I was a kid, I loved Star Trek, and I wanted to be Kirk. I wanted to captain the Enterprise, fly around the galaxy. And so when I started acting, if it wasn't flat out comedy, I would just do Bill Shatner. I didn't know I was doing Bill Shatner, but I was doing Bill Shatner. So he was my guide, and I've also, forgive me if you've listened to my stories before, you get repeats, but when I auditioned for Boston University, where I eventually went to college as an acting major, you had to do a comedy monologue and a dramatic monologue. So I did a Woody Allen stand-up piece as Woody Allen, my best Woody Allen impression. And then I did the opening monologue of the play Equus. Well, I don't know crap about acting, so I'm doing Bill Shatner. I don't know I'm doing Bill Shatner, but I'm going with one particular horse called Nugget. He embraces the animal. Digs, and I'm going on and on and on.
Oh, was that Woody Allen or Shatner?
That was the Shatner. I didn't say it was good. And then the guy auditioning me stands up, and I find out later he did Shakespeare in Canada with Shatner when they were both young men. And he stands up and he goes, "I don't know if you can act, but that's the finest Bill Shatner impression I've ever seen," and I'm intrigued. And so Bill got me into college, and that's where my training started.
And later on, I know Shatner pretty well, and I've had lunch with him for free, by the way.
Ooh, Bill paid?
Wow.
Wow.
And all he did was ask me questions.
Yeah, he's very curious
the
guy.
entire time. But it's kind of interesting because the roles are a little different because this is your friends saying this is a Make-A-Wish Foundation for you. We're going to get a little corporate gig for Shatner.
Right.
He's going to sit down with you. Was he asking you questions the whole time?
He did. Bill, you know Bill. So I think the secret of his longevity is his curiosity.
Yes.
He just wants to know about everything. He wakes up every day. He's got a list of crap to do in a day that I don't get done in a week, and he plows through it, and he's really excited about all of it. And I think that excitement is rejuvenating for him.
So do you start off, are you thinking dramatic? Are you thinking comedy?
When I went to college, so I had done a little bit of comedy on the path to getting to college, but I thought I was going to be, first of all, only a theater actor. That's all. Yeah. The only aspirations I had. I grew up in Jersey, and I wanted to get to New York. Excuse me. And I thought of myself more as a dramatic actor because of the Shatner thing. And I got to college, and in my sophomore year, there was a wonderful professor there who pulled me into his office and went, "Nope, you're 5'5", you're 40 pounds overweight, and you're already starting to go bald. Think about comedy." and I did. I took him very seriously, and didn't immediately become a comedic actor, but started to think about what makes funny people funny, and started to sort of try things on in a way that when I did get opportunities in comedies, it wasn't like, I don't know how to do this. I could imitate somebody else at that point and get a handle on it.
How did Seinfeld come about? Did you just go
straight
out
up
for
audition?
It?
Yeah. I think they had seen. I have heard stories that they had liked and or made offers to people before they ever got to me. People like Chris Rock, Danny DeVito, Paul Schaefer. They were very high on. I think at one time, and I think this is true, even the idea of him having a female best friend, and they were looking at Rosie O'Donnell. But
Larry Miller was one of them too.
Larry Miller, that's
yeah.
right, because Larry Miller and I went to the network on the same day. They'd only looked in Los Angeles. I lived in New York. So somehow my name got on a list of about 30 character-y actors in New York. And they just said, just put them on tape. So I had 4 pages of a script. No Larry, no Jerry, nobody to ask a question. And I was reading it at home, and I said to my wife, it reads like a Woody Allen script. Mm-hmm. So I went in and did Woody Allen. And thought, oh, that's ridiculous. That'll never go anywhere. And then got a call from, I think, Larry a week later saying, "We really like what you did. We're going to fly you out. You'll meet Jerry. You'll read for the network." And when I met them, they said, "We love everything. Just back off the Woody a little bit, and just a
little more Shatner.
A little more Shatner.
More Bill.
Yeah, bring Shatner up to 8, Woody down to 3." And Larry Miller was at the network. I think it was he and I were the only guys reading that day. And I didn't know Jerry Seinfeld at all, but I did know one thing. Larry Miller was his very good friend. And I went, I'm not getting this, obviously. I'm here to keep Larry Miller from asking for the sun and the moon. And
he was way more likable in Pretty Woman than you.
You bet he was. And funnier. And I did the audition. I thought, yeah, that was fun. That was fine. I got on a plane. When it landed, I had a call that said, it's you.
Oh,
So it was just a straight up audition.
But the show wasn't immediately successful,
No,
right?
oh God, no. No, we did the pilot. My memory is, and I'm old now, so memory is a funny thing. My memory is that we did the pilot and it didn't get picked up. And in those days, the network would burn off their dead pilots by just filling a half-hour slot, you know. And they did that, and the critic for TV Guide, I think it was TV Guide, wrote a love letter about it. And it kind of made the network go, well, by gosh, maybe we missed something. And they wanted to be in business with Jerry. They knew they had something with Jerry. So they gave us enough of a budget to do 4 more episodes. That's when Julia came on. There was no Elaine in the pilot. Oh. And we did 4 more, and they tested those and tested terribly, but they aired them, and there was always enough of an audience with the demographic that Jerry and I basically represented. It was guys 18 to 35 who don't watch TV except for sports, but they would watch our show. They got it. And so advertisers would go, yeah, we'll throw some dollars behind that. So we always had some interest from advertisers, which is what kept us alive long enough to try and get popular. But NBC didn't know what to do with us. They threw us all over the schedule. If you wanted to watch the show, you had to go find it. Until I think the 3rd season, when they put us on after Cheers, and that gave us an audience, and then we were able to build off of that.
I remember being in college and seeing probably the first season. And I remember my roommates, we all lived together as like a group of guys and girls, and they loved it. And I was like, this is before I got into comedy, so I was like, I don't get it.
I don't get it.
I don't get it. But I was, here's the thing, I said that, I don't get it, but for some reason I wanted to keep watching it.
Yeah.
There was something about it that I was like, because it was so different. It was so different than anything else you'd seen.
Right.
So I was interested in that, and I'm also from Jersey and wanted to be a theater actor, and I was like, yes, it's just theater, no comedy. But I was like, there's something about this that just kept hitting me. Like I was like, and then it wasn't. Yeah, probably until season 2. Then we were watching it kind of on the regular because we were up at all hours of the night, so we could find it. And then obviously on Cheers.
Yeah, well, anything that's different, no one knows what to do with it at the beginning, which is, probably Simpsons were kind of that way. I mean, all your iconic mold-breaking types of comedies and dramas, probably for that matter. The dramas, probably they can wrap their head around it a little bit faster.
Yeah.
But the comedies that go outside of whatever that template is that they're used to, they don't really know what to do with it.
No, and they doubt themselves, even if they think it's funny. Yeah.
Right.
They start asking too. I mean, the question after all this time, I would pitch shows after Seinfeld ended. And the first question out of the exec's mouth would be, why do we like these people? And I go, you don't like these people. Did you not watch Seinfeld? Nobody was likable. We're funny. That's why you watch
There's
this show.
something happened, and don't get me started on a rant, but I've pitched and done a couple of pilots for sitcoms too. And at some point, they removed the word the comedy part, and they put in the word like. And so I remember having a minor meltdown on the set, which I was getting notes about. He's not likable enough. Because why do you like him? Why do we likable? And I just, in the middle of this thing, I said, it's not called a sit-like. It's a sitcom. We're trying to do comedy. No, not everyone's going to be likable. Likable is what people, executives who don't have a sense of humor, can sort of pig truffle out. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you can have all the yentas over at NBC sitting up there going, well, I don't know comedy, but I do know likability. Right. And so I'm going to just focus on like. And I've said this before, but not to Jason and Jody, which is I had an executive at CBS say to me when she was giving me one of my likability conversations, I said, look, I grew up watching All in the Family. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Carol O'Connor. Yeah. She's the least likable person on the planet. Yeah. It was the best sitcom that was on. Yeah. And she said, but I said, Meathead hated him. She said, you know, if something happened to Archie and he was in the hospital, Meathead would be the first guy by his bed. And I said, I do not know that. I didn't glean that. He'd be chilling the champagne, according to the sitcom I saw. So they're like doing this revisionist, likable history, and it's so weird. I don't know when like started to replace the comedy part, but it's there.
Well, I think potentially, and you would know this better than I because you're on the stand-up world, but when comedy became dangerous again, when, you know, I remember, this is going to sound very, but I was working with a peace group in the Middle East, and I was lucky enough to meet the president of Israel at the time was Shimon Peres, and he said, do you think comedy would be a useful tool in bridging the gap between Israelis and Palestinians? And I said, oh, God, no, Mr. President, because the very nature of comedy is it's potentially offensive to somebody. Yeah. Somebody is going to get offended by this thing. And I think networks are really, because to be a broadcast network, you're playing to the greatest common denominator you can get, right? The lowest hanging fruit and in abundance. So if you rattle them, if you offend their sensibilities, you've shot yourself in the foot. So I think they are just trying to purge anything that could be offensive. And unfortunately, most sense of humor goes out the window with that.
It's tragic, especially in the comedy scene, to see people sort of, you know, censor themselves while they're on stage or get, you know, criticized for something they said on stage where 5 years ago, 10 years ago, they wouldn't have. It's really... It's terrible. Even when I'm writing a joke, I'm like, is that going to piss somebody off?
Right.
And I should never have to do that. My job is to piss somebody off.
Well, but also, you know, I always thought when I was in the audience for comedians, we have a contract. Right. You're gonna point out the foibles and peccadillos that we all have in common. Some of them are going to be specific to something I represent: short, fat, bald, Jewish, something, male, something. And I'm going to look in the mirror and go, well, is that true? Well, that's kind of true. Or I don't see it, but I have seen it in a friend of mine. Or I always say, look to the intent of the jokester. Right. Are they trying to tickle? Are they trying to share? Are they trying to amuse? Are they trying to build a bridge between you and them? Or are they trying to hurt you?
Yes.
Because if they want to hurt you, you can pick that up and nothing is funny.
No, exactly.
But I've sat in audiences where horrible things, you know, are said, and I go, well, I get it. They're really trying to bridge a divide between us by you know, this sort of hardcore, bombastic, you know, just in-your-face sense of humor. It'll work for some people. It may or may not work for me, but I'm not going to get pissed at them because they're taking a shot. But that is not the rule anymore.
Well, speaking of old school pissing off the audience, Michael Richards in that situation, and I don't know if you have. I interviewed Gloria Allred about that situation on my morning show, like 08, 09 or whatever. But it was funny. I was kind of early money on this because she was like, I'm representing the black members of the audience that had to hear the N-word. And I said, I get it. They were offended, but why do they need to be paid? And she said, well, he needs to pay. And I said, oh, he's going to pay. Yeah. Like, this is going to be real hard on his career. And she was like, no. And then she's obviously wants money. But I said to her at some point, well, what if there's fat people in the audience and you're making fun of fat people? Then by extension, would you then represent them at some point? Because everyone's going to be pissed off or offended at some point.
Especially if there's money to be made.
Especially there's money to be made. But
wait, is there money on there? I'm offended now, Adam.
Yes, right. We're going to pay you before you leave today.
I coined a phrase in this that I'll play of me in 08, 09?
06, November of 2006.
Wow, it's been a while.
Wow.
Practicing law, and we just admire their courage and are honored to work with them.
Right. Sometimes they're in it for the money, though. But I do think it was wrong what he did.
But you don't think he should suffer a consequence?
I don't necessarily say he shouldn't. He will and has.
Like what? How has he been punished?
Well, first off, we're talking about what a jackass he is on a national radio show.
That's enough.
Well, some would say it's the ultimate in a certain sense.
Well, I don't know, and I'll tell you why.
Why is giving away money the ultimate punishment? Isn't your name being tarnished the ultimate punishment?
Let me address your issue.
Yes.
That if he's talked about, that's punishment enough. For some people, that enhances their career if they're celebrities from what appears to be a scandalous situation. I'm sure you would agree with that.
Well, yeah, it's possible, but I think if you asked Michael Richards whether he or Michael Richards' representation, his publicists or his agents, whether they prefer this incident happen or not, they would, of course, say no.
Well, that's not the question of whether they would prefer it happen. The question is, will it enhance his career?
No.
And we don't know the answer to that
Yes,
yet.
we do. The answer is no.
Because you've got a crystal ball that I don't have.
No, I have a crystal brain that thinks logically.
Well, you really don't know about these things. So the point is...
All right, I really don't know about these things. God, is she a liar? She's such an insane... Or what you heard, ladies and gentlemen, is a game we like to play at home, stupid or liar. There's no... That she's the poster child in that exchange, or stupid or liar. And she's not stupid, so she's just lying. But that was 17 years, what was it ago?
God.
Yeah. I don't think it's enhanced his career. But... that was Gloria Allred.
Can I just say, because I honestly, here's all I have to say about Mike. I love him completely. I got to work beside him for 9 years. The four of us don't see each other a lot since the show ended, but I marveled at Michael's ability, and I marveled at him. For 9 years, he took a role that was supposed to be a one scene per episode. It was the crazy next door neighbor.
Right.
It was the Joe Besser of the company, and he turned it into a thing where, arguably, I think one of the reasons the show expanded at least into where younger kids were watching it and international audiences were watching it was Michael, because Michael's work was so largely physical, and clown is an international language, and I just think we would have been lost without him. And I know his heart, and I love him dearly, and that's all I can say about him.
Well, I'm glad you feel that way, and I don't know him. I don't know him at all. Yeah. And this wasn't an indictment of him. This is me yelling.
Yeah,
at
no,
Gloria
absolutely,
Allred.
absolutely. But
crazy witch.
What was your first reactions to meeting the cast initially? Because I heard, and this is all hearsay, that when they had Jerry star in this, they needed to hire some badass actors around him because Jerry's never really acted, right? So were you did you notice that? Were you worried about that?
No, but Jerry and I did have a moment on the pilot that was kind of fun, and it sort of set the tone not only between he and I, but for all of us on the show. There was some scene we were doing in the coffee shop in the pilot, and it was supposed to be not an argument, but a debate. He was representing one side, and George was supposed to get pretty heated about it. And Jerry wasn't playing his side of it fully, because if you go back and you look at the early episodes, you'll see Jerry's kind of enjoying the show while he's in the show.
Yes, totally, yeah.
He's smiling and he's just enjoying the show. So he said to me, "Can you ramp up your side of this?" And I said, "I absolutely can, but you're going to have to do this thing." And so oftentimes he and Larry would give me a line reading on something they heard in their head. It would make me funnier. I would say to him, "Hey, if you actually do try this or that, the scene might play better." And then Michael was always a part of it, but when Julia came on, the people talk about the ensemble of that show. And I think what happened very quickly is we enjoyed playing together and we enjoyed watching each other. And even though, when a show isn't doing well, most actors are every man for himself.
Yeah,
I'm going to get as much material as I can, put it on my reel and see if I can get another gig. But we were having such a good time playing with each other that we would sit around in scenes that we weren't in and say, "Hey, if you do a thing that might be funny, or the line's good on me, but it might be funnier on Julia, or, we could shut up and Michael could come through the door and do a thing." And so we started looking out for each other in that way. And that was certainly true of all of us we were not saying, Jerry, in this scene you need to do, but he, in chatting and playing and working, I think we all lifted each other's game. And so to the extent that you have a trained actor in me and in Julia and in Michael, Jerry got some more training and he got lifted up. And I thought by the time we got to the third season, he was actually doing some pretty complex and cool stuff, And I can't speak for the other two who were very funny coming in, but I got a lot funnier in those 9 years.
Yeah.
From watching them, from learning from them, and also being exposed to all of Jerry's friends who would come through, It was a great comedic education. So
we need to take a quick break. Jason's going to hang out and Jody's hanging, and we'll be right back after this. Already at the end of February here. Time is flying, especially if you're a business owner. You got to get stamps.com. Stamps.com. Save time. You print postage right from your home or your office. Postage rates increase all the time, and they just went up again. Stamps.com automatically tells you the cheapest and fastest shipping options, plus rates you can't find anywhere else. Up to 88% off USPS and UPS rates. I've used these guys for over 12 years. They've been with us since almost the beginning. Books, merch, it's all sent out through Stamps.com. And set up your business for success. Sign up, use the promo code ADAM with a special offer. It'll include a 4-week trial, free postage, and a free digital scale. No long-term commitments or contracts. Just go to Stamps.com, click the microphone, top of the page, and enter the code ADAM.
In celebration of Jim Carolla's upcoming 92nd birthday, here's a list of 92 things Jim Carolla has never done. Number 22, started a chainsaw. Just one of 92 things Jim Carolla has never done. Let's get back to the Adam Carolla Show.
Probably include outdoor motor. The outboard, I should say, in that the same ripping action. Jason Alexander's here, the podcast, really, with Peter Tilden, who's quite a talent.
I listened to the episode. You guys were talking about the bathroom stalls and why there's space underneath them. Why can't they just go all the way to the floor?
A Jerry Seinfeld premise.
Yeah,
Jerry did a whole routine on that, and Peter and I were talking about it and going, funny, yeah, it was a great bit, and we going, but wait a minute, why don't they go all the way down to the floor?
So you know what they did?
And that's what we did.
They had their first guest was a public bathroom designer.
Not the guy out of San Francisco who
won
$1.7 million.
Maybe it is.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, he's out of San Francisco.
The guy who created the public bathroom, the free public bathroom for the. Yeah, I think it's the same guy. He won an award for it. And,
the stainless steel.
Yeah,
sort
Chad.
of
I can't remember Chad's last name. Chad Kaufman, I think it was his name. Yeah, it might be the same guy. He is based up there. So,
I had a Seinfeld moment, probably maybe Curb Your Enthusiasm moment, because I was thinking about Larry Miller, who's a friend. Love Larry, great guy. Just one of the all-time good guys.
Yeah,
and it must have been 8-10 years ago where he slipped and he hit his head.
Yeah,
and it had to be about 8 years ago now, and he was in some sort of residential treatment in a home, though, of a home for people who had to rehab.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so it was like a single-family dwelling with some nurses in it and some beds, and he was there for a couple of weeks to rehab.
Yeah. Under the name Fred Stone.
Fred Stone.
Is that true?
Yeah, for Fred Flintstone.
But he took an alias while he was in rehab.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Fred Stone.
So
okay.
I was told, here's the address, Larry's expecting you. Go pay him a visit on, noon on Thursday, 8 or 10 years ago. And here's his alias. And I immediately forgot the alias, So now this is Seinfeld. Like I knock on the door, and a little nurse lady opens the door just a crack, hello. And I'm like, I'm here to see Larry Miller. We don't have any Larry Miller here.
Right.
I go, okay, I get what's going on, but he's a friend of mine, and he's expecting me, and so I could probably see his foot over there. Like, and just come in, and she goes, "We'd need the name."
Right.
And I'm like, I got told something, but just 2 days ago.
Yep.
I know Larry's in here. I'm a friend. I don't have a camera crew or anything. I really can't help you.
I promise I'm cool.
Like, really? I really can't come in here and visit I know Larry's in there. I don't know what his fake name is.
Yeah.
And then she's like, I'm sorry. I just can't help you. And she like shut the door, and I had to go sit in my car and like call people and like scroll. But
you want to hear a great version of that story? It's not me. The late, great Miguel Ferrer told me the story about when his dad, Jose, was doing the movie Dune with Sting. They got friendly, and Sting said, I'm staying at such and such hotel. You should come for dinner.
Oh.
And he gets to the lobby, and he goes, I'm here to see Sting. And they go, there's no Sting here.
Right.
And he goes, no, Sting, the singer. And he goes, yeah, I'm familiar, but not here. And we know and he never knew that his name was Gordon Sumner, and that's how he was checked in. So he never got to that dinner, and Sting was like, you stood me up.
Hilarious.
I used to.
Did you get in though to see?
I went in after 40 minutes of sitting in my car cussing at my phone. I called somebody or found something and then went back.
And then what did that nurse do when you gave her that name?
She was like, Fred Stone! Pushed her out of the way. Then I got in there and screamed at Larry for 40 minutes and left.
Knock him back months in his recovery.
You think you got problems.
He was going to get released the next day, and then Adam showed up.
Terrible relapse.
Beat up a nurse.
I used to travel when Dr. Drew and I, when Loveline was having its heyday on MTV, and we would play colleges all over the country and sell out these big arenas because all the kids loved Loveline, and Adam and Dr. Drew were coming to your campus, and there'd be 3,000, 5,000, 8,000 basketball arenas. They'd fill them with these. The tickets were probably free for the student union or whatever. But we would inevitably go to some huge college, and we just have to stay at whatever the hotel was was near campus because the airport was 3 hours away sometimes. Yeah. And so we couldn't travel under our names because some drunk college guys would come in and wake us up at 4 a.m. I used the name Jimmy Kimmel.
Hilarious.
I was like, nobody's heard of this guy. Not in Wisconsin.
Sure. Yeah.
And I'm not going to forget it. He's a good friend of mine. So it'll be easy for me to remember. And this will be a name that no one's ever heard of.
Yep.
And the guy behind the counter is not going to say anything.
Right.
Just put it under Jimmy Kimmel. Now the fucker's hosting the Oscars.
Yeah.
I don't think that's ever been done. I don't think where someone's name was used.
The alias.
As an alias because nobody knows who this person is, and then the guy hosts the Oscars.
Well, I used to travel under the name of a guy I knew from kindergarten to 6th grade, lived around the corner from me. I thought he had a great name, Harold Hinkus. And I would check in under Harold Hinkus, and so far he's not hosting a national late night show.
This year.
So I wonder, and I should have had my staff research this, but I have a very vague memory of you and I being on an episode of Son of the Beach.
I was definitely on Son of the Beach. Did we do it at the same time?
There was an episode that we shot at, I was in Visconso Gardens.
Oh no, I didn't have such a lovely location. I was in some rat hole of a soundstage.
How many episodes did you do?
Just one.
Oh, if you just did one and I just did one,
that would be crazy.
I think this was the one.
I don't remember anything about the plot. I think I just worked with that great guy who was the star of the show, whose name
Stack. Rob.
Stack. Tim Stack.
Tim Stack.
Yeah, I think Tim and one of the ladies from the show was in the scene with me, but I don't remember anything about it other than that.
Oh, we'll have
Can
to
we
look.
find this
We'll
episode?
have to look it up now because I don't remember what part I played. I don't remember any of the jokes. I don't remember any of it other than a very vague recollection that you two were in that episode.
Did that give it cred somehow in your mind?
Oh. Yes. I told Howard the
huge
only
mistake.
The only way you're going to get me.
Yeah, as if Jason Alexander's in the same
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely.
And now we're going to have to IMDb it or something like that. But
people are on it. I can see activity in the window.
Oh, yes.
And I remember, I think there was a scene at the end where we were together, but now I don't think you and I were like doing dialogue.
No, I would have remembered if I had met you on a set. I'm pretty sure I would. I mean, I think I've been aware of your career since The Man Show. Were you already doing The Man Show at that time?
That would have been post-Man Show.
Oh, so if I had heard Adam Carolla's on the set, I would have gone, oh.
Well, that's good. And I feel good about myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Either way, you
go.
come out on top there. Yeah.
But that's just a weird, distant memory.
Right.
But it could have been I was in an episode and you were in. I watched.
How did
you
you
in
never do an
episode.
episode of Seinfeld? Were you ever approached?
No, I was. Seinfeld was what year to what year?
Basically 90 to 99.
I didn't do anything in this business until maybe 97 or something like that, and nobody considered me an actor or a talent.
Were the guys
even.
aware of you think, as a comic? Would they have known your stand-up work?
Like Seinfeld
Jerry
or Larry
David?
David? No, because I didn't really do stand-up. I came from this weird world of sketch and improv, and so my background was all sketch and improv. With like a couple of acting classes like scattered in, but I never went to college and I didn't major in anything. I was just kind of a blue collar guy who got into sketch and improv with like a little bit of acting, and I never went on auditions and I never did anything, and then somehow I kind of backdoored it into radio. And then radio turned into me and Jimmy met, and then me and Jimmy, that turned into Loveline, and then the Man Show. But I was never really, I didn't have headshots or resumes.
Right, you weren't pursuing that necessarily.
No, I because I didn't, I thought the odds of it were so fantastical that it would never work.
You were correct, sir.
Yes.
Yes. I was like, who?
Well observed.
But I got this thing, which is, my parents didn't really care for me that much. Like, they weren't fans. Like, I wouldn't say they weren't cruel. They just would be like, yeah, why would anybody, kind of thing. So
is that another thing on the list of 100 things your dad has never done?
Yes. He's
never, I like your work, son. He's never
complimented his son. No, I had it in my head, if your own family's not that impressed.
Yeah, that's a hard hill to take.
You're going to walk into a casting agent, throw down a headshot, and they're going to be blown away. Like, I was like, no, you're going to be in something if you create it.
Yeah,
that's all I thought. So
that's
I never.
A good thought. That's absolutely right. I teach that actually to young actors. I go, create your stuff.
Do you formally teach?
I formally teach. Yeah. I've taught. I've done tons of master classes. I taught for one semester as a guest professor at USC, and I've been doing, runs of like 8 classes over 8 weeks for certain different teachers that are offering.
Have you
classes.
spotted anyone where you go, that kid's got it? Like, that's a unique talent.
Yes, but I will. Yes, but I will tell you, the sad thing is. Talent just gets you through the door. It doesn't get you any further than that. I assume everyone getting through the door is at least as talented as I am. There's some other thing that goes down. Some of it is luck. Some of it is personality. You click with the person in the room. But I've known gloriously talented people who had not the kind of career anyone would have expected them to, and through no fault of their own. Because if it was just, I mean, I went to college with a couple of people where, I'm sure if I stood on stage next to them, you wouldn't know I was there. They were so good. They were little Meryl Streeps and De Niro's
But here's the question. Did we find me on Son of the Beach? Oh, we did.
That's the question. Yeah.
No, here's the question. I feel the same way. There were people that I was with at the Groundlings that I was like, that guy, Vic Wilson, amazing talent. Like, I could never come close to that. And other guys and girls. And I was just like so immensely talented that you almost felt intimidated being out there with them. But then I wonder, would I feel that way now because you're not the same performer you were then.
Right.
Sure.
Maybe they bloomed early or sort of had it early or something. Like, would I still be blown away by their ability if they came on this podcast?
I think you would.
It's exposure and opportunity and luck. There's so many people through Acme. We both went Acme. I would see people. I'd be like, this person is going to be so famous. I'm honored to share the stage with them, and then I get so upset. Like I see them 5 years later on Facebook or Instagram, and they're not even performing anymore.
Absolutely.
And it breaks my heart because they were such a talent, and it just didn't happen. They just never got in front of the right people.
And you add to that people who have been at the party and then through no fault of their own, they're uninvited. They have a career, they do great work for 3, 4, 5, 10 years, and then all of a sudden, we've had enough. They're out of vogue or they're out of whatever. I don't know what that transition is. I didn't fully have it, but arguably what was happening to me in the 90s and the early 2000s was a lot higher than what then happened through, all of a sudden I'm having a resurgence in my career and getting to do all kinds of things I have been dying to do. But, there was this fallow period and I had to go to therapy and go, okay, I still know how to do what I do, so it's not that. It's just, I did some follow-up shows after Seinfeld. They didn't work. And people go, oh, well, maybe. It's just, you step in the wrong pile and suddenly it's just not happening anymore.
The episode I was in is called Penetration Island.
Of course. Sounds like something I wrote.
Of course, Penetration Island.
But was Jason in that?
Was that my episode?
Yes.
Is it?
Well, put it on the screen, man. Yeah.
Okay.
Sanchez, what the is going on?
I remember her.
Here?
Yeah.
Don't look at me, babe. I'm just an actor.
I guess it's time to let you in on our little secret.
But I thought you were dead.
Not now, Kimberly. I want to hear the secret.
No, I'm not dead. Notch Johnson is also quite alive.
I am?
As a matter of fact, nobody died here. The bullets, all fakes.
Okay, Mr. Host, if indeed that is your real name, I want to know what's going on here. Was this just a TV show done in the name of ratings?
Not just a television show, Mr. Johnson.
Oh, boy.
Who are you?
Woody Allen?
Woody Allen.
I'm Tex Finkelstein.
There it is.
And this was all my idea. You see, my guy, Penetration Island was never just a television show. No, thanks to you, I reckon. This is the biggest damn Megillah in the history of mass media.
Mr. Finkelstein, you make me sick. Playing with people's lives in front of the whole world? When are you TV executives gonna see that you've taken this whole reality programming thing too far?
Yeah, Kimberly's right.
All right, we're not going to watch the whole episode.
Another charming role for Jason Alexander. Well, you were fantastic.
Yeah, you didn't exchange a line, so that's why.
Those shorts, too.
You were dismissed.
I blame myself for trusting too much. I am so easy to talk about. I can even talk me out of my own thoughts or feelings momentarily. Like I'm like, I have a vague recollection.
Well, that's amazing.
I would have remembered
here's
that.
what's so crazy.
I was done. I believed you.
So I don't, honestly, because I would have had to have known who you were by then. And either we weren't interested. I don't know what, I mean, I was a fan. Let me just say.
Yeah.
I was a fan. Not of your work on that show, but other than that.
Obviously not, but.
Yeah, because my own stellar work on that show was
What year was that? That must have been 4 or 5. I mean, I remember... Did Howard Stern is that a Howard Stern thing? Because I was friends with Howard Stern, so he probably
I don't even get to make that claim, but it was definitely the Howard connection. Yeah.
Is it hard for you to go back and watch stuff that you've been in, or do you?
I totally disconnect.
Really?
Yeah. I kind of look at it and go, what is that guy doing? And so I can actually look at stuff and go, not only can I look at stuff and go, not good or not bad, but especially in movies that are shot out of order. I can look at the movie and go, oh, that was we shot that early, and that scene I knew what I was doing. So because you kind of figure it out as you go, and the early scenes are just never as good as the later.
And how many kids do you have?
2.
And what are your kids obviously think of your work. I mean, they grew up. Did they like? Did they watch your stuff growing up?
No, they really didn't. Both my boys are kind of in the biz. My older son Gabe, again, sketch and improv, and is an all-around wonderful actor and a good writer. And my younger son Noah is primarily a voice actor. They were blissfully uninterested in everything I did. In fact, I remember they never watched Seinfeld, and Gabe was in high school or middle school, and his friends were watching, so he heard about it a lot, and he would use it, because he was like a shy kid. So when he first met people, go, "Yeah, my dad's doing this," but he had no idea what he was talking about. And he finally asked to watch a couple of episodes. So I gave him I don't know what I gave him, but I gave him 2 episodes, and he went in the TV room, and he came out, and I go, "Well," and he goes, "You're kind of an asshole." And I went, "Okay,
he gets
very good. That's my career, son."
I'll watch the episodes later.
Yeah.
Son of the Beach, 02, by the way.
02. I would have put it earlier than that, but okay.
21 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've noticed, Adam, Seinfeld is the big dog on Netflix now. Like it's the mainstreamed sitcom.
I think my 16-year-old twins and their friends, I think they started with The Office. Maybe they went to Friends. Then they went to Breaking Bad, and they shall be getting to Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Breaking Bad. Seems like that would be a little bit after.
Little palate
Friends to
cleanser.
Breaking
For comedy.
Obviously.
Yeah, I think they're on a trajectory to get to Seinfeld in the next 14 months.
It's like I Love Lucy. You're going to get there eventually to see, the chocolate machine and the...
I really think that when it comes to kids, because, my kids weren't too impressed on many of the things I did as well. But I do, keeping the tradition alive, I do think that if your dad has an old El Camino that he's working on in the garage, kids are much more apt to go, help, praise. Like they'll wax poetic about my dad could fix anything or something. When you do things that are a little higher order, like being in one of the biggest sitcoms on the planet, they somehow push that away. It's not commensurate. We'd much rather have a dad who starred in one of the biggest sitcoms in the world than owned a $3,400 El Camino. But yet that guy will speak poetically about his dad and his El Camino, even at age 13. My dad's the coolest. There's something about show business that makes them sort of repel.
Well, and certainly with Gabe, I think, I've never really talked to him about this, but he knew he was going to be a performer. He was little when he started really grooving on that stuff. It's got to be a weird thing to have a famous father in the thing that you want to do, or a famous mother in the thing you want to do. It's my wife has once said, you cast a big shadow, and nobody wants to stand in that shadow. So I think they love me. They're very supportive. I'm directing a play on Broadway in the summer. They've already made plans to come see it, but they just don't spend a lot of time talking about my career or my success, and they're trying to build their own thing.
Right. You're just
get out from under it all. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm talking about like age 12.
Age 12, they could have cared less about it.
Yeah, I'm saying you should have bought an El Camino.
Should have built something.
You know what they liked when they were little? I did a movie with an orangutan, and they were they loved because they came. They wanted to meet that orangutan, and that was cool. But
Dunstan checks in.
That's the one, baby.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
Because there was another
orangutan movie.
Ed was
chimp movie.
Ed playing baseball. There's like a monkey playing baseball.
Yeah,
that was Ed with Matt LeBlanc.
Yeah. No, I had the orangutan.
Yeah.
Me and Clint Eastwood. We had that.
That's right.
Yes.
There he is. There's my boy. That's my baby boy.
So you remember the orangutan, but you don't remember me.
No, but I had a lot more interaction with the orangutan. And if we're going to base it on talent, I was going to say yes.
All right. Well, we'll go out on that high note. Really? No, really's the name of the. It's a podcast, right?
Yeah.
But it's.
Can I do the pitch on the iHeart app, the Apple app, or wherever you get your podcast?
And veteran and consummate pro, Peter, and all-around funny guy, Peter Tilden is on there as well. So big fans of his. Jody Miller, The World's Funniest Weather. You can just check your local listings for that. And also Funny You Should Ask, very fun show that I get to be a part of as well. JodyMillerComedy.com is where you go for that. For me, going to be at Jimmy's Club in Las Vegas coming up March 9th, and then off to Naples, Florida, off the Hook. That'll be March 24th, 25th. And you just go to AdamCarolla.com because we're coming to Turlock and Fresno and Kansas City and Oklahoma City and Monterey. So do that. And until next time, it's Adam Carolla. For Jason Alexander, Jody Miller, and Chris Maxbata, saying mahala.